the most disturbing videos ever caught on camera. We start at level 1, but the deeper we go, the more disturbing and the more unpredictable things become. We are starting at the top of the iceberg. Level 1, Restless Shark in the Pacific Ocean.
On March 23, 1994, near Easter Island, a research vessel was studying the climate of that part of the Pacific Ocean. The crew, finding the water conditions favorable, decided to take a break, dive in, and enjoy a pleasant afternoon swim. But after about an hour, a terrifying event unfolded. A large shark began approaching the swimmers. When they noticed, their screams echoed, and they realized their only chance of survival was to reach the boat. The distance, however, was too great for them to outswim the shark. Matt Ofstis, a senior crew member, took charge of a rescue boat to aid those in danger. The first to be injured was Phil Buffington, whose leg wound was so severe it required over 50 stitches. The unluckiest victim, however, was someone else. Heather Boswell, a 19-year-old student intern aboard the vessel, caught the relentless shark's attention most of all. The atmosphere was chaotic, with everyone shouting, calling out to the young woman, desperate to save her. But the shark locked its powerful jaws onto her legs, refusing to let go. The red of her blood began staining the water, while the rescue team fought to injure the shark and pull Heather to safety. The situation was so tense that the cameraman recording the scene often forgot he was holding a camera, frantically moving about. Much of the footage is blurry, capturing only the sound of screams. After several minutes of struggle, they finally pulled Heather from the water and drove the shark away with gunfire. But her weight was noticeably lighter as they hauled her into the boat. It soon became clear why. Heather had lost her leg. The shark had completely severed it. Time was critical to save the unconscious, injured girl. Nurse Judy Lane, through immense effort, managed to stabilize her. Lane later said,
"I've never seen this kind of destruction done to a human being by a shark. If she hadn't been 19 and a fighter, she would have died."
Ultimately, Heather Boswell, fortunate to survive, returned to a normal life, walking with a prosthetic leg. She has said she's forever grateful to those who saved her, as in the moment her leg was caught in the shark's jaws, she saw no outcome but death.
Unlucky or lucky skydiver.
In 2012, a skydiver, accustomed to jumping from great heights, decided to leap from a towering structure, approximately 120 meters tall, in Russia. He brought along a close friend to film and document the entire jump. After climbing the structure, the camera starts rolling, capturing the adventurous man preparing for his leap. He removes his gloves, tucks them into his pocket, assesses the height for a few seconds, and finally positions himself at the edge of the precipice, ready to jump. The weather appears bitterly cold, with both men bundled in layers of warm clothing, and the ground below, where he was to land with his parachute, is blanketed in a uniform layer of snow. An eerie silence pervades the video. His friend says nothing, allowing him to focus fully on this dangerous maneuver. The base jumper finally leaps. His friend, filming and watching the descent, waits for the parachute to deploy, but tragically, it never does. From a height of 120 meters, the jumper plummets in freefall, crashing hard into the snowy ground below. The cameraman, unsure how to react to this horrific incident, stands in shocked silence for a few seconds, staring at his friend and keeping the camera steady. Eventually, he begins descending the tower, and the video ends. The most astonishing part of the story, however, is that according to reports and news, the man survived this fall. Though he suffered severe injuries to his spine, pelvis, and legs, the snow on the ground apparently cushioned the impact just enough to save his life. After 3 months, he was able to walk again and return to a normal life.
Level 2, Sao Paulo Amusement Park.
Like any public place, amusement parks can be the setting for dangerous, tragic, and terrifying incidents. This time, the incident occurred at an amusement park in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where a woman was seen climbing a stationary Ferris wheel. Maria de Fatima, for reasons unclear, was hanging from one of the Ferris wheel cabins at a height of about 15 meters. When the ride suddenly started moving, she was caught off guard, losing her balance. A tourist standing below the Ferris wheel pulled out their camera and recorded the horrifying scene. Maria was hanging upside down, at risk of falling from that great height and losing her life at any moment. Onlookers stood watching, screaming as the atmosphere grew intensely heavy and chaotic. What made the situation even more dramatic was the presence of Maria's two young children inside the cabin. With all their strength, their small, delicate hands gripped their mother's arms, desperately trying to save her. The stress was at its peak when finally, an amusement park worker, Jose, courageously risked his own life by quickly climbing the Ferris wheel to reach the dangling woman. But Maria's larger, heavier frame was too much for one person to manage at that height. Several others rushed to join Jose. At one point, Jose himself lost his footing, nearly falling upside down, but he was fortunate to lock his legs around one of the Ferris wheel's bars, saving himself. This was no longer just a simple rescue operation for Maria. After a short but intense effort, the rescue team worked together to pull Maria back into the cabin, into the arms of her children. She owed her life to Jose Carlos's quick thinking and expertise, a man who, to Maria, was no longer just an ordinary amusement park worker.
Earthquake at the Bangkok Hotel.
In March 2025, a CCTV video from a hotel in Bangkok, Thailand, was uploaded to YouTube. At the start of the video, everything seems perfectly normal and serene. The camera captures a balcony on one of the hotel's floors, showing a pool nestled within it. A young couple, a man and a woman, are lounging in the water, enjoying the city view from that height and soaking up the sun. Nearby, a man whose relationship to the couple is unclear, is also visible by the pool. In the midst of the calm and quiet captured in the video, the man suddenly stands up, as if he sensed something unusual, something unsettling in that moment. It's as though he noticed a shift in the atmosphere, though he doesn't quite know what it is. At first, the couple in the pool pays no attention to his movement, but just seconds later, something happens that snaps them to alertness. The water in the pool suddenly becomes restless, slowly at first, then rippling and surging toward the couple like ocean waves. Moment by moment, the water's movement grows faster, transforming the tranquil scene from minutes before into a tense, stress-filled chaos in mere seconds. The couple, along with the stranger, realize it's no longer safe to stay. They quickly rush into the building. It soon becomes clear that it wasn't just the pool water that was disturbed. This was merely a glimpse of an earthquake that struck Bangkok at that moment. The pool water poured over the building's edge like a waterfall. As everything began to shake with increasing intensity, the camera footage abruptly cuts off and ends. According to media reports, the earthquake registered 7.7 on the Richter scale, and its impact was felt even in neighboring areas like Myanmar. A strong 7.7 magnitude earthquake rocked the Thai capital on Friday, causing buildings to sway and cascade water from rooftop pools onto the streets below. The earthquake is believed to be relatively shallow, at 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles deep, with the reported epicenter in neighboring Myanmar. The Greater Bangkok area is home to more than 17 million people, many of whom live in high-rise apartments.
Level 3. Gas station explosion disaster.
On Friday, October 22, 2004, Raymond Nichols was filling his car's gas tank at a station in Canton, Ohio, USA. Like anyone else, he was lost in thought, his mind elsewhere while pumping gas. Inside the car, his wife Tracy and their two children waited for him to finish so they could head to Lone Star Steakhouse for a memorable family dinner. Everything seemed normal, ordinary and fine until, seconds later, an unexpected and horrific event shattered his thoughts. A Ford, speeding at an alarming rate, crashed directly into the gas pump Raymond was using. The pump was ripped from its base and immediately burst into flames. Raymond, however, wasn't worried about his car burning. His only thought was saving his 7-year-old daughter Allison, seated in the back where the fire was spreading. He later recounted in an interview. Raymond said that when he saw the tape, "I was kind of shocked by it because the pump came so close to hitting me, and I barely felt the pump at all. It kind of pushed me forward, but I didn't even realize how close I was." He quickly pulled Allison and his 5-year-old daughter Madison out of the car with Tracy's help, and they fled without looking back, wasting no time. Even drivers at nearby pumps sped away, fearing an imminent explosion that could endanger their lives or property. On the other side, the Ford's driver, Angela Garcia, a 22-year-old woman, got out of her car and fled the scene. 2 days later, police arrested her. She claimed she didn't know what caused her to lose control of the vehicle, but admitted to fleeing in panic. Notably, the Nichols family revealed they had been delayed at another gas station earlier, prompting them to switch to this one, a choice that their lives. Fortunately, no one sustained serious injuries in this incident.
Level 4. Arson by an ex.
A strange and terrifying arson incident occurred in San Lorenzo, California, USA. The story of a fire at Jill Nielsen's apartment, where she lived with her fiancé, is one of the most unique, intriguing, and horrifying incidents to have taken place. According to Jill, the fire at her apartment's entrance had happened twice in a row, set by an unknown individual. This led her to suspect that someone with a personal grudge was targeting her. After consulting with her mother, they decided to install a security camera in the hallway outside her apartment, positioned to clearly capture the full body and face of the culprit. Jill was anxious and terrified. If your front door catches fire twice, you can't live peacefully knowing someone out there won't rest until they've harmed you. But amidst her fear, Jill knew that if there was a next time, the perpetrator's identity would be revealed and the matter would be resolved. That day finally arrived, and Jill's clever plan paid off. The dangerous individual returned to her apartment door for a third time. The camera captured a tall, heavy-set black man, whose face wasn't entirely clear from behind but was enough for Jill. When she noticed the flames, she screamed to wake her fiancé, who fortunately managed to extinguish the fire. More importantly, Jill immediately checked the camera footage. The truth hit her like a ton of bricks. The person in the frame was her ex-boyfriend, Gary Calvin. They had dated for about a year, during which, according to Jill, he was never violent or harmful. The bitter irony was that when Jill ended their relationship, Gary told her he felt like he had lost his mother again. His mother had died in a fire. Ultimately, with the evidence from the camera footage, Gary confessed to his crime and was sent to prison, allowing Jill to regain her sense of security.
The fortunate pedestrian in Azerbaijan. In June 2025, an elderly man in the Dubandi region of Azerbaijan found himself at the center of a terrifying incident on a highway, captured in a video that went viral and captivated internet audiences.
The man, whose identity remains unknown, was recorded by an overhead highway camera as he began crossing the road. Holding a cane and moving painfully slowly, he appeared incapable of crossing even a simple city street without assistance. He makes it about halfway across when a car slows down and stops, waiting for the elderly man to cross the highway more easily. But everyone knows that suddenly braking in the middle of a 6-lane highway is far from sensible. Seconds later, another car speeding excessively in the adjacent lane slams into the stopped vehicle with tremendous force. The impact is so severe that the second car flips over entirely. The first car, which had paused for the troublesome pedestrian, is thrown to the side of the road, but sustains minimal damage. The most remarkable part of this incident, however, is the fate of the elderly pedestrian. With 2 cars catastrophically crashing in front of and behind him, he stood unscathed, without so much as a scratch. Miraculously, he survived what could have been a deadly disaster. According to reports, one of the drivers sustained serious injuries, making them the only casualty of this incident.
Level 5. Stunt pilot plane crash.
Paul Mance, born August 8, 1903 in California, USA, is considered one of the greatest stunt pilots in the country's history. Having learned to fly at age 17, he developed exceptional skill in controlling all types of aircraft, which eventually led him to a career in Hollywood stunt flying. Not only was he a remarkable and professional pilot, but he later co-founded a company, Tallman's Aviation, with Frank Tallman, providing flight services and stunt work for films. With over 25,000 hours of flight experience, Mance became a favorite among Hollywood producers and directors.
Some notable films where he performed stunts include Airmail, 1932, Only Angels Have Wings, 1939, and The Wings of Eagles, 1957, collaborating with major figures like Howard Hawks and John Wayne.
However, Paul Mance's final flight failed to replicate his past successes, ending in a tragic accident. On July 8, 1965, the skilled pilot was set to perform stunts for another Hollywood film in the desert region of Yuma, Arizona. The film, Flight of the Phoenix, used a simple, custom-built aircraft from Talmance Aviation to capture the desired flight scene. Mance was joined by 64-year-old co-pilot Bobby Rose to assist in the flight. In their first take, they successfully executed a decent flight for the film. But the director, wanting to ensure the best footage, asked Paul to perform the flight again for a better shot. Initially, everything seemed ready for takeoff. Paul warmed up the engines and lifted the plane from the launch pad. But an unbalanced weight in the aircraft's tail, combined with the stress of takeoff, disrupted the plane's balance and control. Tragically, even his years of professional flying experience couldn't save Paul Mance. The tail's deformation caused an immediate crash, resulting in his death. His co-pilot Bobby was severely injured but survived. Paul Mance, who fearlessly performed dangerous stunts in an era of limited Hollywood technology to deliver better films to audiences, left a lasting legacy. Yet this incident highlights how thin the line is between art and danger, underscoring the critical importance of modern technology to prevent human lives from being sacrificed for the sake of creating art.
Level 6. Wrestler's Death in the Ring.
On March 21, 2015, renowned Mexican wrestler Pero Aguayo Jr. lost his life in a shocking and horrific incident during a match. In Tijuana, Mexico, he was competing in a 2-on-2 match against another beloved Mexican wrestling legend, Rey Mysterio. As the match progressed, Rey executed his famous finisher move, the 619, which throws the opponent onto the ring's ropes and delivers an acrobatic kick to their face. Rey had performed this move countless times throughout his career, but this time, it would become the most tragic 619 of his life. After Pero was hit by Mysterio's move and fell onto the ropes, he didn't move. Another wrestler, the referees, and eventually Rey himself noticed something was wrong. Pero didn't seem to be okay. Yet the match continued for a few more minutes, and a winner was declared, but Pero still didn't move. It was clear his condition was serious and not part of the performance. The medical team rushed into the ring, doing everything they could to revive him, but it seemed it was too late, and no one could do anything. Rey Mysterio, standing in a corner of the ring, anxious and upset, likely blaming himself, watched Pero desperately hoping his opponent would get up. Ultimately, the injured wrestler was taken away by ambulance, but tragically, he lost his life at just 35 years old. The cause of death was reported as cardiac arrest due to a stroke shock and cervical spine trauma. The cause of death is still unclear, but local media report that he suffered cervical spine trauma. This incident is considered one of the most heartbreaking and distressing in professional wrestling history, a sport that, despite its theatrical nature, can produce the most real tragedies in an instant. Aguayo's death prompted an outpouring of grief on social media from fans and members of the wrestling industry. "I will miss you and carry you with me for the rest of my life," tweeted Rey Mysterio, a former WWE superstar who landed the flying kick on Aguayo. "Rest in peace, Hidro del Pero." He posted 2 images on Instagram that appeared to show him and Aguayo at a young age, and again later in life. The incident plunged the wrestling community, and especially Rey, into profound mourning.
Level 7. The Inventor's Fall from the Eiffel Tower.
On February 4, 1912, in Paris, France, Reichelt, an Austrian-Hungarian tailor living in France, set out to conduct a daring experiment. It was a grand test for a historic invention he had worked tirelessly on. He didn't want to be just a skilled tailor. In recent years, he had strived to create something far beyond ordinary clothing. His goal was a wearable parachute suit. In those days, airplanes were a new invention, and existing parachutes lacked the efficiency and practicality needed. Thus, the idea of a relatively lightweight parachute suit for pilots was a brilliant and captivating concept. But great ideas require great risks to succeed. Franz had that risk-taking spirit within him. Over the years, he had revised the suit's design multiple times and even conducted a few tests. Wearing his own creations, he had jumped twice from a height of about 8 meters, including from the roof of his home, to test his parachute. Though his previous tests weren't very successful, Franz remained undeterred and was now ready for a bigger demonstration. On a Sunday, around 7 a.m., Franz, wearing his suit, stepped out of a car in front of the Eiffel Tower. On a freezing day, with the ground iced over, journalists and reporters from various media outlets gathered to capture a historic moment, an invention that could revolutionize human flight. Yes, the young man intended to jump from the Eiffel Tower to test his wearable parachute. He had worked tirelessly for this day, even struggling to obtain permission to perform such a stunt at the Eiffel Tower. But that day, it became clear that Franz planned to jump himself. Everyone assumed he would use a dummy, but that wasn't the case. The tailor, determined to prove he was far more than ordinary and a great inventor, had such extraordinary confidence that neither his friends nor the police could persuade him not to jump. Accompanied by friends and a cameraman, he climbed the Eiffel Tower stairs to the first platform about 57 meters high. Only a single jump stood between him and history. Around 8:30 a.m., Franz Reichelt, stubborn and determined, leapt from the Eiffel Tower, hoping his suit would deploy like a parachute for a glorious, historic descent. Tragically and predictably, things didn't go according to his calculations. After a rapid fall lasting a few seconds, the young tailor crashed headfirst into the frozen ground, his body shattered. The crowd gathered around him, and his body was taken away. Even today, over 100 years later, many don't remember Franz Reichelt as an inventor, but view his experiment as utterly foolish. He wanted his name to be on everyone's lips, and in a way, he succeeded not for his great invention, but for a reckless, unnecessary risk.
The Great Denver Tornado.
On June 15, 1988, a ferocious tornado loomed over the skies of Denver, Colorado, USA. America had experienced many storms, but this one was unprecedented in its intensity and magnitude. Around 4 p.m., the storm grew larger and larger, advancing toward the city's main areas. Many residents were fleeing to find safe shelter, but journalists, weather analysts, and photographers were among those braving the chaos, eager to capture stunning yet terrifying images of this natural phenomenon. A local resident from the heavily damaged Broadway area, in an interview, spoke of his luck in surviving the disaster. He recounted how a tree he deeply cherished was tossed around like a drunken man by the storm, and ultimately destroyed. Many people lost things both small and significant, from pets and cars to, in some cases, the complete destruction of their homes. In the streets, overturned and crushed vehicles, some with occupants, were a haunting sight. Tornadoes, when seen from afar in the sky, appear captivating and beautiful, but as they near the ground, they unleash deadly devastation. In another interview, weather analyst Mike Silva described how, during the event, he and a photographer managed to get within 550 meters of the tornado by helicopter to capture clear, striking images. He explained that while this was extremely dangerous, it was also thrilling, sending his adrenaline soaring. That day, cameras even recorded multiple tornadoes merging, causing widespread damage to Denver's residents. Storms may be more dangerous on the ground than in the air, at least. That's what Mike Silva believes, as he feels compelled to chase every tornado and report on it up close. At the end of his interview, he said, "Trust me, I've seen all kinds of weather, but nothing compares to chasing a tornado.